Captain's log, stardate 492001.5. Voyager has picked up a faint Federation distress signal in an uninhabited region of space. It's encoded in Starfleet protocols, but the origin is suspicious. There's no sign of a vessel or debris. We've altered course to investigate, though Tuvok and I both suspect it may be a trap. Chakotay believes it's worth the risk. Given our situation in the Delta Quadrant, we can't afford to ignore any possible lead, even if it means walking into the unknown. Welcome back, dear listeners, to another transmission from the Hit or Miss Command Deck, your ongoing guide through the twisted politics, shadowy loyalties, and glorious eyebrow archers of Star Trek's most enigmatic antagonists. I can't read my own writing. That's right, we're still deep in our special series of Bajoran and particularly Cardassian stories again this week. I'm your host, as always, Captain Mike, and this week we are veering off the beaten space lane and punching it all the way to the Delta Quadrant, where a familiar face has swapped species, allegiances, uniforms, and possibly sanity. We're talking, of course, about Seska'd, the scheming, surgically altered Cardassian infiltrator, making a mess of things on Star Trek Voyager. Specifically, we're looking at the episode Maneuvers from Season 2. Now, I must report with a heavy heart that my former co-host DK has been reassigned for the moment and still won't be joining us for the next few episodes. He swears it's nothing to do with Section 31, but I have my suspicions. Either way, he's not here. So I will keep trying to re-establish contact and seeing if we can get him back. But for now, fear not. Standing firm at tactical, as ever, is our Cardassian specialist, the Lizard Queen herself, Lady Vean. Welcome.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me on again.
Thanks for coming back, third time in a row, because you can't keep you away when we're talking about those spoon-heady lizards.
I do love my space lizard.
Yeah, you're always ready to unpack betrayal with a side of Kanar, then.
Yeah, well, I have a different view on how things play out, so, always up for a good debate, and that's very Cardassian of me.
It is very Cardassian of you, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on Seska'd, because I've not really dived that deep into that character, so it's going to be an interesting one, for sure. So. Yeah. And this week we've also beamed aboard a brand new crew member. If you're a listener of our sister show Silver Screen, you will have heard the voice before. Please join me in welcoming to the Hit or Miss Bridge for his debut mission, John. Welcome, John.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Good to be here talking Trek after a couple of classic movie discussions with you. So, yeah.
Yes, we've had a great time. I'm about to land my shuttlecraft here into the hangar. So
awesome.
I'm looking
I
forward
love
to
it.
this.
Very on brand. I absolutely love that. And as I always say, thanks for sharing the episode art for this one. I'll pop it up on screen and put a link to your store because your Star Trek art,
thank you.
like your film art, is just amazing. It's incredible stuff.
Thank you so much.
I don't have it handy to share to screen right now for everyone, but watch the episode when it's edited, and I promise it'll be. Yeah. So, yeah, anyway, we've got a full slate coming up at warp speed. The return of the now legendary Hit or Miss section, a deep dive into the episode Maneuvers, as we said, and maybe a little light treason along the way, looking at you, Vean. Whenever we have a guest, we like to open our hailing frequencies.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
Awesome. I do like to ask, kind of like I said, every new guest a little bit about their Star Trek backstory and what drew you to the franchise, etc. So yeah, that is the very first question: is what got you into Star Trek? Can you remember your very first experience, maybe your first episode that you watched that either grabbed you or that sticks in your memory and made you think, oh, I want to watch more of this?
I do have a general idea. Boy, I was young. I was about 6, actually. Wow, okay. And when I first saw Star Trek, where I grew up in Illinois in the United States, on PBS, on Saturday nights, they replayed the old, the original series. So every Saturday night, and they would just play one episode, if I remember right. But I think, and I don't know if it was the first episode I saw. The first episode that I remember, and of course, remember, I was like 6/7. I must have been closer to 7 if I remember it this well. But I remember the salt monster.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And it's funny because I know that's a really early episode, and it's funny that would be like one of my first memories. But I think probably because of the creature and everything, and I was young, and I was fascinated with the Enterprise, the ship itself. We had friends that built models of all the different original Star Trek ships. He had the Enterprise, and he had the Klingon battle cruiser, and he had the shuttlecraft, and so I was then exposed to that, same age, and that's what got me kind of hooked. I never missed it after that, and of course I was always a big reader, and so then I started reading the Star Trek books that were available then.
Oh, cool.
And actually, I'm looking at them right now. I still have all of them from when I was, and it's funny. I never broke the spines when I read. I still don't. And so some of these books look brand new, and they're published in the 70s. I just met David Gerald.
Oh, cool.
2 weekends ago. I was so mad because I have the original, World of Star Trek that he wrote. And, it originally came out in paperback by Ballantine. And in fact, I just opened up the cover right now, and it says Johnny Adams, April 1977 is when I bought this book.
Wow.
And it came out in 73. Oh, this is the 7th printing of it. But still, it was the original paperback, and I forgot to take it to show David.
Yeah.
But I was able to meet him, and we chatted a bit about the book. And I actually I had done a piece of art for Trouble with Tribbles.
Oh, of course.
And so I went back and added him into my. I have a tribble pile in the picture. So I stuck his face in the tribble pile.
Nice.
And so I took that to him when we met, and he looked at it and he's like, "Oh my God, this is great! I love this." He had his assistant. He's like, set this out front with my books, and put John's card next to it. And he was really great.
Oh, that's nice. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I've seen him on a lot of the kind of special features and behind the scenes stuff. And if for any of listeners who don't know, David Gerald is most famous for writing The Trouble with Tribbles, but he also kind of was responsible in part for the development of the Next Generation in a lot of what became.
He had a big part in developing it.
Yeah, definitely. And he's always happy to talk about all things Star Trek and a bit of a Trek legend. So,
and he had written, I believe he also wrote a couple of the animated series episodes.
Yes. I can't remember which ones.
Yeah, I can't off the top of my head, but I do remember.
Probably more Troubles, I would imagine.
Well, I'm sure that was him, yeah.
Yeah.
But so I was always reading Star Trek, and after starting to watch it, and then having the exposure of the models, it was just, I was a science fiction geek from my first books. I mean, all of the books that I originally read were all science fiction. So I followed Star Trek pretty closely my whole life. And,
that's good, because you'll be able to answer the other questions we've got then, because there's some big ones, so be prepared.
Holy moly, we'll see.
First of all, though, I did find your artwork so I can share it for at least Vean to be able to see here on
screen. I'm so glad. Vean, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm doing all the talking here. I apologize.
No, it's your intro.
Well, I guess.
There we go. That's John's artwork for Maneuvers. It's flipping gorgeous, isn't it? I'm always impressed. To move back to the next question on this list about your Trek credentials, I always ask all of our guests, if you had to pick 3 episodes, or if you'd rather pick a movie you can, to show somebody that you think represents the very best of the franchise, what would they be and why?
Oh, God. You guys, we're going to
told you they were big questions.
We're going to be here all night. All right. So 3 episodes that I think
as succinct as you can, you know.
Yeah, I'll try to be succinct. Let's see. Boy, that's okay. Representative of the franchise. All right. I'm gonna go with Journey to Babel from the original series. I picked that because everything's in this episode. You get your first glance at a lot of these alien races that we had not seen ever. Because again, you know, it's a conference of aliens and they're all headed to, you know, Babel. So you see all, you know, the array of different creatures and, you know, that live in the Star Trek universe. There is a very political message in it of that there's still, you know, political fighting that goes on and what happens, you know, in those situations, how those things can lead to war, which, you know, was very much on the mind of everybody that was writing Star Trek at that time.
Yeah.
War was, you know, very, I mean, we're right in the midst of, you know, Vietnam and dealing with all of that. And so, so you have the political side. You have a real deep dive into learning so much more about Spock. It's funny, as a kid, Spock was never my favorite character, but as I've grown up and older, he's probably one of my favorites because he actually had it.
That question's coming up as well.
Yeah, I figured. Maybe we can fold that in. Just fold that in. Anyway, it contains everything. It contains a familial storyline with emotion. You also see how far these friends will go for each other. You see about family relationships, political relationships, all the different aliens. You know, it's got it all. So that would probably, just off the top of my head, that's the one I'll pick from the original series as one of my tops. My top episodes that I like are perhaps different than the question that you asked, though.
Yeah, that's why I ask it like that. It's kind of like, what would you, if you were trying to win somebody over, what would you say is best, as opposed to, you know, just favorite stuff?
Yeah. All right. Oh boy. 2 more episodes. Okay, I'm gonna use a movie.
Okay.
I'm going with Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, which is my favorite movie in the entire series of all the films, every film.
Yep.
Every Star Trek film. That's my favorite. It also contains everything we talked about, and a great fun over the top villain, because over the top is also part of Star Trek. You know, and it's great. And talk about family and talk about, you know, sacrifice and friendship and aging, which is, you know, I'm now 2 years older than Kirk would have been in that movie. I feel like, if I remember right, he's like 55-ish at that time. Yeah. At least the character is. So it has that too. There's some maturity in that movie, as well as fun. A lot of the things that were missing from the first film, I would never even though I love the first film. Yeah. Well, the director's edition. It's actually, I love the director's edition. So 2 is the second one. Third favorite. Oh crap. It would probably be from Next Generation.
Okay, you've done 2 great choices so far. I can see exactly why you went Journey to Babel and Wrath of Khan, and I would agree with those as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to hit like not everything from the same particular timeline or whatever, you know, franchise or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. That's 2. That's enough. You got so much information.
Okay. Fair enough. No, that's more than fair enough. That's fair enough. There's a lot of them, so it's very overwhelming. But yeah, so going back to kind of favorites as opposed to kind of what would win people over, what are your 3 favorite characters, and kind of just some quick reasons maybe why they speak to you as well?
McCoy was my favorite as a kid.
Okay.
Which is really funny. My brother, and I think you know about my brother.
Yeah, sorry, I'm so sorry about your loss as well recently. It's still going to be quite fresh.
Yeah, he passed away 2 weeks ago, and my twin, actually, fraternal, but still twins. But it's funny. He always was Kirk, and I always wanted him McCoy. I was a very emotional guy, as I know it's hard to tell, but so his brash demeanor and Southern charm appealed to the drama person in me. So as a kid, I was always McCoy. It's really fun, and I always want. Actually, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a doctor as well. So,
okay.
I actually walked around with a little, doctor's uniform on all the time with had a little medical kit.
That's cool. Yeah,
such a dork.
Well, it's very on brand for a Trekkie. Let's be fair.
As I've gotten older. I'm dropping names like crazy today. Somebody get a broom to sweep this up.
Okay, what's this one?
I was able to. I met William Shatner 2 weeks ago.
I was going to bring that up, but I thought I'm going to leave you.
And
that was awesome.
I mean, what can you say? I mean, just to be able to be with him for a short amount of time, and so Kirk, of course, has got to be on the list because he was the prototype for everything that came after. At least, even though they didn't, for good or bad, he was the prototype. Is probably not the right word, but he was the model for the first captain of the Enterprise. And you really have to think about. He was a really interesting character. Because he could be really tough, and but it was always about compassion. Well, mostly, it was always about. There was always compassion. There was always a love of exploration and his friends, his deep friendships, and those were great things to model as a kid, as an adult as well. So Kirk and McCoy would have to be 2 of my. You said 3.
We sticking with 2, or we?
Oh no! Let me throw because I feel like I need my 3. Was it my 3 favorite characters? That was
just three that you kind of most relate to or respond to.
Probably. Well, I don't know if I don't really relate to him, but I'll say. Brent Spiner as Data. Who I also met about 2 months ago, by the way.
Is there anyone you haven't met?
I made a piece. Of all of his character through all of the years.
That's
cool. It's just, and I also did one for Jonathan Frakes through all.
I did see that.
Yeah, so I met both of them at a signing thing. Yeah. And I won't go into all the details, but I did get them to stop and actually look at them. They traded with each other, because they said, "Well, we can't keep our own. We got to trade with each other. It looks too obnoxious." Other words, and they showed it to the crowds and stuff. It was really neat. So probably Brent Spiner, just because I was a young actor when Next Generation came out. And mostly just from I always felt I've kind of changed my perception a little bit as I've gotten older, but at the time I just thought, wow, he can play anything, and it's very hard to play the character straight as he had to play it a lot of the time. That's a tough role. and yet he became beloved. And I love characters that have arcs; they have somewhere to go. And
Sure, yeah.
So he had a long way to go, and so that a lot of the appeal as well.
Cool. So just two more questions left. Firstly, the big one, and I think I know what your answer might be to this one. What's your favorite of all of the series of Star Trek?
I'm sorry, what's my favorite? What?
Just series overall from all of the. I mean, they've grown and grown, so there's like a 10 or 11 series, I think now. But,
Yeah, it's I have to go back to the original just because
I thought you might.
of my childhood. I will say I really love Strange New Worlds. Yeah, those are probably my two favorite. Although I vacillate all the time. Just depends on the mood I'm in.
Enough.
I'm in a Voyager phase right now.
Okay.
Where and I'll go through like a Deep Space Nine phase. It just depends. But just turn on television on for Star Trek original series.
Yeah, fair enough. That's cool. And so lastly, obviously, as I said, this series we're dealing with the Cardassians and Bajorans. Do you have any particular favorite storylines, episodes, characters from either of those species or both that you particularly like and would like to shout out?
It's hard because I'm probably least familiar with Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
Which I feel like really,
yeah, that's going to be the majority
into those two species.
Yes.
However, I would be remiss if I didn't mention my absolute love of oh gosh, I can't think of the name of it. The two-parter, there are four lights.
Chain of Command from Next Gen.
Yes.
Got you.
So,
okay.
Of course, that's a delicious Cardassian character. I love the Cardassian characters, by the way.
That gives me a chance to name drop because I met David Warner.
Oh, that's a great one. That's great. I love him.
Yes, we didn't say much, but I did meet him and get a photograph with him only about 5 years before he passed away. He was
that's awesome. I was a huge fan of David Warner from
he's amazing.
Time After Time.
Oh, right.
Which was written and directed by Nicholas Meyer,
I know, yeah.
And of course, that's how he got into the Star Trek world, was because of Nicholas Meyer.
Yes.
Love him. He did. He was in the last. I think he was in Wallander. He played his father. Did you watch the Wallander series?
I didn't know.
With Kenneth Branagh.
No, sorry, it was not my particular thing. But
it's a UK series. You should be watching every one of them, right?
Yes, everything that comes out of my.
It actually is very good, and it's David Warner's last role playing his father.
Okay, I see. Okay,
he was quite good in it.
Cool. Oh well, fair enough. That's that's all good answers, I think. So that's going to conclude the hailing frequencies part. We're going to move on to the next part, the section that gives the podcast its name. We're going to move to the hit or miss section.
What about my performance? I'm not a drama critic.
So if you're unfamiliar, the hit or miss section is just where we pick random things from anything in the Trek universe, shout them out, ask if they're a hit or a miss, debate back and forth quickly.
Oh, I love it.
This is basically the idea. But as I said, if you have been watching us this series, you know that just to introduce a more random element, I've been coming up with a big list and then just asking for numbers so that it's not just me picking 3 or 4 things that we know are guaranteed are going to come up. John, would you like to pick a number between 1 and 9?
So I chose 4. 4.
Okay, let's go with 4 because I think you're going to have feelings on this one. Okay. 4 is an episode. I don't know why I put this on at random, but I think you're going to know it. It's an episode of the original series called The Corbomite Maneuver. Hit or miss?
Hit. Hit.
Yeah. So I don't have to explain the episode to you at all. You know that it's the one with the Baylock and the Enterprise in a tense face-off with the big spherical spaceship. And another very early episode because the first one you saw, the first episode you remember seeing was The Man Trap, which was the first episode aired.
Right.
I think this was around the 3rd or 4th episode aired. But,
it was. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Do you have any particular memories or thoughts as to why that you loved it?
Well, I didn't like it as a kid. It was a boring episode as a kid for me.
Oh, right. Okay.
You know, isn't that funny? But it really is more of a cerebral episode.
Yeah, it's quite talky for the most part because it's
Yeah.
more about the tension
And so, and so but I was always fascinated by the ship that Blaylock had. The Cepharius or something like that, I think was the name of it.
Cepharius? Yeah.
Cepharius? God, that's sad that I even know that. I can't even tell you my, address, but I can tell you the name of Blaylock's ship. And of course, Clint Howard would go on to make some sort of appearance in almost every series. Also, for those of you that don't know, is also in every Ron Howard film because he is his older brother.
Yeah.
So he appears in every Ron Howard film, keeping it in the family.
Saw him as a baby in this episode as the.
That's right. Yeah, with the really bad teeth. I don't think those teeth were fake either. I think those were his teeth, which is even more frightening. And of course, you got the creature that appears at the end of every episode in the credits. He appears, you think that's the actual captain until you learn who it really is.
Absolutely.
So it's a hit for me.
Awesome. Vean, are you familiar enough with this? I'm guessing you will be with the original series episode. And what do you think about it?
Vaguely, but I would call it a hit just because it's of the iconic imagery alone. I mean, look at the picture you selected.
Yeah.
Represented, and who does not know that?
Yeah.
Image?
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, definitely going to be a hit just based on that. I will say I've not seen it in a very, very long time, so I don't have more extensive thoughts.
I'll tell you. Watch it now with the revised effects.
Yeah, they're good.
They're really good on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have to see a hit as well, so it'll be unanimous because I like that it's kind of an exploration of what TOS did really well a lot of the time, which is the tension of the unknown and what we're really facing here, and the character of Bailey, who was kind of strung out and kind of over it all, and then he gets his happy ending and gets to be the liaison to this federation, and just the idea. I mean, the really big idea in a way of like, oh, this thing looks really scary and intimidating, but the scary alien is a puppet, and the alien just wants to put up a show of force, and in the end, it's a baby, and it's kind of it's a very nothing to fear but fear itself kind of message, which I kind of always appreciate. It's very science fiction-y in that way as well. So I can imagine it being an episode.
Well, the relationship with Bailey and Kirk, because
completely. Yeah.
Bailey reminds Kirk of himself as a young cadet. He says that several times, and he and McCoy have a discussion about that. And so he just pushes him too hard because he's frustrated that he's not getting it. Not getting the part where you don't freak out over every. I mean, oh, the countdown! It's continuing. He does lose it a lot in that episode.
But I like those episodes.
But I love the ending because it's what the last bit. What they do with Bailey is what Star Trek was all about. You take somebody who is an explorer, but just as fragile as any human is, and that's why they decide to choose him to represent humanity, because he's not perfect. He has deep flaws, and that's how you're really going to learn about us. And that message that they impart at the end of the episode, that's what Star Trek's all about.
Awesome. Cool. So that's unanimous hit. So, Vean, we're back to you. Would you like to pick a number between 1 and 9?
We'll do 5.
Okay, we're back to 5. 5 is a character, and it is related to things that we're talking about. I'm almost dreading what we're going to find out. So hit or miss for the character of Legate Tekani Gamor, the Cardassian. Vean, it's your call.
So much. I love Tekani Gamor. Oh my god. So one of the monitor lizards at the Virginia Zoo is named Tekani.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Did you name it, Vean?
I did. All of the monitor lizards at the Virginia Zoo have Cardassian names.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I love Tekani Gamor. I love that they brought him back in Ties of Blood and Water, which is one of my favorite Deep Space Nine episodes. I think he's a wonderful character. I think he's brilliantly played, though I am blanking on the name of the actor.
So am I, actually, and I should really know this.
Can you please tell me an episode? Because I can't think of the character even.
Second Skin.
He was... Yeah, Second Skin.
Blood and Water. Yeah.
In what?
Second Skin and Ties of Blood and Water are his 2 Deep Space Nine episodes.
Okay, let me just...
Basically, the first episode was the one where Kira wakes up and they try to make out that she was a Cardassian the whole time, and she looks Cardassian, and she's imitating this guy's daughter, basically. I can vaguely remember it, but I haven't seen it for so long myself.
Ileana Gamor was a member of the Obsidian Order who was sent undercover as a Bajoran to infiltrate the Resistance on Bajor, and she never came back.
Oh.
The actor's name, by the way, is Lawrence Pressman, who also portrayed Krasinski and the Changeling imitating him in the DS9 Season 3 finale, I believe, The Adversary.
Well,
what's his last name? Lawrence
Pressman.
One of the things I love about the introduction of Tekeni Gamor is we're seeing more aspects of Cardassia as a society, and it's not just the Central Command bad guys. It's not just the Ducats and the gold Madrids of the world. That there are more people who don't agree with what the Cardassian military command is doing. And here we're seeing somebody who's part of the military structure and high up in the military structure who is also secretly part of the dissident movement and who is trying to change things for the better and trying to have that reckoning that Cardassia inevitably has to have. So I love that they brought this character in, and I thought he was a great foil for one of only 2 Cardassian characters that I truly hate, which is Corbin Intek in Second Skin, the Obsidian Order agent that captures Kira. So. I
was really worried because you mentioned hating a particular character in that episode, and I was worried it was going to be Gamor, and I was like, oh no, what's she got against him and why?
Love Corbin Intek is just awful.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Fair enough. John, do you remember this at all now, or are we going to have to just skip past this one?
Well, so lucky for you guys, and this is, I can't even believe I'm saying this, I've never seen the episodes.
Okay, fair enough.
But Lawrence Pressman, I grew up with Lawrence Pressman in the 70s and the 80s. He was on every sitcom you can imagine.
Oh, right, okay.
I can't believe I don't know these episodes.
Something to watch.
You gotta watch them.
Well, you know what I'm doing this afternoon now. I'm not even kidding. I am not even kidding because I love Lawrence Pressman. So yeah, we can skip me. Holy cow! I don't even know the character.
Fine. That's fine because I will therefore say I'm going to say hate, so it's not going to be controversial and a 50-50 split because of basically everything that Vean said. I just have to echo it. It was nice to know that as DS9 developed, we got a sense that the Cardassians weren't a monolith, and I always like when it's like things aren't black and white, and it's not like, well, this whole species is evil, this whole species is good, because that's not how species work. And it was nice, and I know that you're not a fan of her acting, but I really liked him as he played off Nana as Kira, especially in Ties of Blood and Water, because of the connection they had.
Mike, in your defense, I think Ties of Blood and Water does actually have some of Nana's best acting. The scene at the end where she's talking about her father dying with Bashir and all of that. I think she actually was very good because, again, that was a moment where she was being more understated.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I also need to rewatch these episodes because I can't remember them as well. But I know I was impressed by this performance and this character. So, yeah, I'm going to say hit. And we've definitely given John something to look up and watch, I think, later on. So yeah. One more time, then, if you would like to pick a number, John, between 1 and 9.
1.
Okay. Number 1 is a ship. I'm so glad you picked one because I'm an absolute big ship nerd. And I always like to put them Yeah, this is a ship, and I do love ships. And hit or miss for USS Saratoga NCC 31911.
Oh.
If you need a reminder, that's basically the ship that Sisko was on Wolf 359 that was destroyed, and yet weirdly turns up in the Fleet Museum in Picard.
Yeah.
So, John, it's your call. What would you think?
Yeah, that one's a hit, or I mean a miss for me. A miss.
Oh, okay. Oof. All right.
I've never liked the Saratoga. Is it the same Saratoga that was in Star Trek 4?
It's not supposed to be the same ship, but it essentially, I mean, they're both Miranda class. I think there's slight
Yeah.
differences. This
Um,
this one doesn't have the roll bar and it has extra weapons, but it's more.
Yeah, I prefer Reliant, which is I can't think of what is Reliant.
Well, it's a Miranda class as well. They're just all different variants.
But it's a different. Yeah, I like their version better.
Yeah.
Okay. Even
So you prefer your roll bar on the top rather than just not having one?
I do. I really like that. I think that's cool with the turrets. I really, you know, it gives it a little. I mean, it's stupid and it makes no sense, you know, in real life. But we're not talking about real life, so
yeah, we're talking about pew pew spaceships.
I mean, it's a really dumb idea. It's a perfect thing to knock off of somebody's ship, but I really like the roll bar. Sorry.
Okay, so you not a fan of the Saratoga because it lost the thing you like, so that's fair enough. I understand. Vean, are you familiar? Well, what a dumb question. You know the Saratoga. I know you do. Are you going to say it's a hit or a miss?
I mean, it's a ship. It's. You know what I mean? I don't have strong feelings either way. I'm not like, oh, what a beautiful ship, but I'm not like, oh, it's hideous. You know, it's just it's a Miranda class ship. You know, I'm neutral on this one.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I'm gonna say hit, and you know, I don't know what that makes of it overall. I guess we're gonna fall somewhere in the middle because we've got a hit, a miss, and meh. But I like it. I don't mind the loss of a roll bar, like you said, because it seems like in a battle that's just a weakness, and it looks a bit more streamlined. And I do like that they added sensors and weapons on the side. Little cool like additions. You can't really see them in the images, but sorry. Okay, Vean, go for it.
Trying to think of here's my issue, and I think we're going to slide a little bit into the miss. Is that the Miranda class ships, whether we're talking about this or the Defiant or you know any of them. They don't look Federation-y enough to me. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's
interesting. The Defiant is not a Miranda class ship, but okay.
Oh, well, whatever. You know, it's that same sort of. They look too Star Wars. They look too Millennium Falcon, and I'm just like.
Oh right. Okay.
It's just so different of a style from the traditional Starfleet vessel that it's kind of bordering on a miss for me.
Now, do you like the original Reliant though?
I would have to see a picture to tell you.
Okay.
I wish I had one handy.
I probably do, but I don't know how to. I don't know how to share.
I got a second. But yeah, it's weird because I mean, obviously the Miranda class debuted in Star Trek 2, which is the best Star Trek film, despite what Vean says.
Yeah.
But the design came about by complete accident. I kind of always loved this story.
I love this story too.
Yeah, it was designed and shown to be to whoever was supposed to approve it, and it was shown to them upside down, and they just preferred it that way, which is why it's got the underslung nacelles, because it was supposed to be the other way around.
Okay.
Which I think is partly why I think you think it looks, because I can see what you mean. The prominent thing you can see there is the saucer, and it does look very Millennium Falcon-y. So
you know, it's funny when the first trailer came out for Star Trek 2. You know, in those days, back in the early 80s. You know, the only information you had about the movie was going to be the trailer. And so I remember so vividly still the first time the trailer popped up. At first, we all thought that it was a new version of the Enterprise. We didn't know that it was going to be a different ship. Right. So it was kind of cool because the first image, it wasn't the trailer, it was the first images that they released. And they released a shot of Reliant from behind going towards SETI Alpha 6, which is really a stupid plot hole. But anyway, yeah, so it was just, we were like, oh, wow, is that what the Enterprise looks like now? Because we hadn't really, we hadn't really seen a whole lot of other designs, Federation-wise.
Yeah. I have an issue with other things I think that I would see a lot more. I agree with you, Vean, don't look Starfleet, particularly the Defiant. Doesn't look especially Starfleet-esque. And a couple of the ones from Discovery's early season, I think, look very Star Wars-y too. But anyway, this is the USS Reliant that's on screen now, and if you were curious, Vean, and I don't know, do you prefer this one to the other? Or?
I definitely think I like this one a little better, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's not an awful ship design. It's just not doing anything for me personally.
That's fair.
You want those long nacelles.
Yeah.
I love a good nacelle.
To each their own, I suppose.
Sexy.
Wait till I get my hands on her ample nacelles in the
That's
woods.
right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll conclude the hit on this section there before we stumble into any more minefields, and we will. We'll move on to the main episode review, which, as I said, this week is the episode Maneuvers. We'll start as ever with my poetry corner. I have the usual. Let's see, what have I got here? A limerick and a haiku. The idea that I stole completely wholesale from the Delta Flyers podcast. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Don't report me to them. Yes, I know exactly where it comes from, but, I have them here. So
at least you credited them.
I do. I would fully credit, Robbie and Garrett for that one. And I'm going to read both because I keep forgetting to read the second one if I go, I'll read one now and one later. So apologies, you're just going to have to sit through both and hopefully not be too bored. I'll start with the haiku because I know that's often your preferred of the two, Vean. So, my haiku for Maneuvers is as follows. A Kazon ram raid. They stole our transporter tech. This is Seska'd's fault. So, yeah.
I like it.
I think it's possible. Yeah. I wrote that myself,
I gathered. Yeah, I like it.
Thank you. I thought, it's to the point. And limerick-wise, what I came up with was, fingers crossed, Voyager breached by a raider thanks to our old Cardassian traitor. Now Chakotay is in a huff, ends up tortured pretty rough. Baby mama will be seeing him later.
I'll let the approximate rhyme in the first slide.
It's a bit of a half rhyme situation. Raider and traitor work, surely, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just give me this, okay? I wrote it myself.
Baby mama is a little dated. However, not bad.
I had to come up with something about the pregnancy, and I was like,
I know.
Trying to work in some kind of reference.
Yeah.
But anyway, So, before I bore us to death with the behind the scenes for this, I do like to go around and ask everyone, first of all, what were your first experiences of Maneuvers, if you can remember, and what were your initial impressions of it? And again, Vean, we'll start with you because you've been polite when we were talking about all things Trek earlier.
Oh, yeah, I totally remember when this came out. This was back, in the, what was I? I was in middle school, I guess, at the time. And I used to tape all the Voyager episodes on VHS. And then I would write the names of the episodes on the VHS so I know what was on which one. And
I love it.
I still remember what was paired with this. It was Maneuvers, and I want to say it was Thaw I also had on one VHS. And
That's so fun. I love it.
But I do remember it was paired with an episode I particularly liked. So even though Maneuvers wasn't one I would naturally be like, I'm going to watch this episode over and over, I ended up watching it a lot because it was on the same VHS tape as an episode I loved.
That's great.
It wasn't the Thaw because the Thaw was on the same tape with Tuvix. Oh, this is going to drive me crazy.
I'm looking it up now because I'm looking which episode would have been released at the same time. So the one before it...
It wasn't Cold Fire.
The one before was Cold Fire, and the one after was Resistance.
It might have been Resistance. But anyway, I do remember, and, how annoying the Kazon are, and, how just infuriating they are as a villain species. And going back and watching it now, it's kind of sad because, as a teenager, you're like, oh my God, these guys are so obnoxious. And then watching it as an adult, you're like, you know what? This could have been a really cool species.
Yes.
Just taken it in a slightly different direction.
They slightly missed all the way around with that species.
They really did. But watching it now as an adult and having studied acting and having done behind the scenes stuff and having it, Anthony DeLongis is, I hope I'm saying his name right. He is really trying his best to take these, Wish.com Klingons
Yay!
and not make them Klingon. Like, he's really trying so hard to not fall into that trope, and I respect the hell out of him for that.
Well, he's definitely my favorite part of those episodes.
God, I have to say, though, one thing, and I have thought this since I was, 15 or whatever this came out. The veneers on some of the actors are so distracting. I'm just like, God, tone it down.
That's hilarious.
All I can see when you talk are your teeth.
That's really funny.
I do think it's a great episode. I love the reintroduction of Seska'd. I have so many questions, but we can get into that a little later.
Okay, yeah, I honestly can't wait. So, when you first saw this, were you already in your kind of being obsessed with Cardassians phase?
No.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But I loved Seska'd from Go. I mean, as soon as she transformed into the Cardassian, I was like, I'm here for this.
Right, good. Well, I mean, she didn't fully transform. One of the things that bugs me is that makeup never gets fully developed. It always kind of looks half humanish.
But that's
I get it.
What I say is that I'm in the process of transitioning back. And I think the reason being is, the Kazon don't have the technology.
No, exactly.
They're not going to be able to undo everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, plot-wise, it makes complete sense, and I'd be more concerned if I was like, hang on, they're not advanced, but they managed to fully restore some woman's physiology, so it makes sense plot-wise, but it's a shame that Martha never gets to...
Since we're already on the topic, I will bring up my one grief with Seska'd.
Okay.
She goes by Seska'd as a Bajoran. She continues to go by Seska'd as a Cardassian. So
yeah, I'm sure that's for the writers thinking people aren't smart enough. But
yeah, it drives me crazy because is it a situation where she was Obsidian Order and kind of like Ileana Gamor? She doesn't fully remember her previous identity, so she continues to go by Seska'd, or is it just lazy writing?
I always thought, how I took that? I always took that as there is a part of her that is jealous that she can't still be Seska'd as well. I really always felt that, and maybe I'm wrong.
I feel like it's
only
more
because of
Chakotay. That's what I was going to say. I think it's more of a dig at Chakotay because it's Seska'd that he was in a relationship with.
Am I giving her too much credit for actually having feelings in some way?
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously the real world reason would be exactly what you said, John. The writers are probably like, well, it'll just confuse people if we say I've got a new name now or whatever.
But I do get what you're saying. I never really considered it, but my thinking it was always that she was just, I don't know, that she's part of her. I like the idea of it being more of a dig because she was always digging at that, always picking at him. And that makes more sense if we want to think of it from a narrative standpoint.
Yeah. Or if you...
One of my favorite fan theories, and I may or may not have been the person who came up with it, but I love this theory.
That's hilarious.
Is that she was trained by Garrick.
That what? That what?
That she was trained by Garrick because she was Obsidian Order, and she would fall right into the proper age range for when he would have been still working for the Order and probably in that phase of his career.
Oh, I like that.
Nice. See, I prefer to believe that the name Seska'd is just the universal equivalent of John Smith, and nobody would have blinked an eye. Bajoran name, it's a Cardassian name, nobody cares. It fits in everything. Fair enough. John, do you remember much about your first time watching this episode? Were you a big Voyager fan when it first aired?
When it first aired, I was busy doing other stuff, mostly illegal. No, I'm kidding.
Are you our secret Garrick? Hang on.
I was, yeah. Let's see, what year would that have been? Was that 90? What year was Voyager? Anyway, I didn't.
Season 2, 96, I think.
Yeah, I was back in. I did not watch Voyager originally until year 3. So I hadn't seen those first 3 seasons until much later.
Okay.
When I was living 3 years ago when I lived in Germany.
Right, okay.
Star Trek was a huge savior for me over there because didn't have anything to do a lot of the time during the week. I mean, we went, everywhere else on the weekends or like 3-day weekends, but a lot of the time. So I would go, but I'd say, oh, I'd never seen the first 2 seasons or 3 seasons. And so, it was very interesting to come into it at that point, having seen the rest of the series and not gone back, because it's quite different. The series is quite different. I just thought, what a shame. I just loved what the idea, the stealing the transporter technology and then shooting those guys out into space. I thought, this is great. It's like, the space Godfather, I mean, it's like, I'm going to make him, an offer he can't refuse. And so I just thought, I love the concept, but I just, the tone of the characters never solidified for me. It was kind of like how much I hated the Ferengi from Next Generation. Hated the Ferengi characterizations. Hated. Stupid waste. Until season 3 of Picard, where we finally get a real vicious Ferengi.
Beheadings are on Wednesdays, John.
Pardon me?
Beheadings are on Wednesdays.
That's right. So I just thought I loved a lot of the concepts of the episode, but since that characterization doesn't work completely, and I remember vaguely, wasn't there some sort of a lot of people feeling that it was kind of racist too? They were thinking that. Oh, yeah, I remember the looks of the Kazon character had come under a lot of scrutiny when they came out. That being said, I really love the episode. I actually don't dislike the Kazon series, even though it doesn't all gel, and then they have to wrap it up really quick to get rid of the series. Because they, the fans were like, oh, you need to stop this.
Well, they needed to introduce the Borg in every other bloody episode. So,
Oh, Christ. Yeah, I mean, don't get me started on that. I love the Borg, however,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I really, really love the early episodes, and I can understand now why Robert Beltram, really kind of got screwed story-wise as the series continues. He really does, because they devote so much of the rest of the series to Jerry Ryan, who I love. Yeah. But unfortunately, I am going to get a T-shirt. By the way, I think you guys will appreciate this. I want to get a T-shirt made that says, "Chakotay, I know we've had our differences in the past." ... by Janeway, because she says that like every other episode. Yeah. However, I love him in this. I like him being a little more rogue, in the earlier days. He's still pretty fresh out of the
Maquis.
Yeah, the Maquis. I really love how the actress, I can't think of her name, who plays Seska'd,
Martha Hackett.
I really like her characterization. So yeah, it works. I like the episode a lot.
Fair enough. Yeah, just quickly then I'll let you know, I was a huge Voyager fan from the start. I saw the premiere in this country when it came on. It actually premiered on a Star Trek night that was to celebrate the 30 years of Star Trek. So I saw the pilot as it went out and watched it religiously when new episodes came out. And yeah, I can't remember much about this particular episode. I remember liking and being intrigued by the storylines, but I kind of feel bad because the majority of the stuff that I like is when they were wrapping it up. So I love like where it goes. Yeah, I love where it goes in like basics, for example, parts 1 and 2. I think that really,
I really like.
Yeah, but you do need all this setup before you get there. So I kind of appreciate this episode as a stepping stone more than I'm loving it for itself. But there's things that I like that I will get into when we talk about the episode, including the initial attack and some cool ideas. But yeah. So anyway, I have got a behind-the-scenes section, which I think some of it's really interesting. So if you'll forgive me, I do want to read through it. And again, if you feel like interrupting with anything or any thoughts, feel free. but I'll try and get through it as best I can. So first of all, Seska'd's reintroduction here follows her betrayal of the Voyager crew in her last episodic appearance, which was Season 1's State of Flux. Having looked Bajoran throughout this first season, including in that episode, Seska'd now sports a far more natural Cardassian look. She would go on to appear in several subsequent installments of Voyager's second season, and following the production of one or two such episodes, Martha Hackett said of Seska'd's Cardassian appearance, "I quite like the new makeup and the way it's gradually building. I'm used to working with it now. I figure if Ethan Phillips can go through it as much as he does, then I can too." So yeah.
Yes.
She's a fan of it, so you can breathe easy. She likes the Cardassian makeup. So, yeah, even though some fans question Chakotay's leadership skills after learning he was duped by both Seska'd and Tuvok, as we discover, Robert Beltran felt that this episode went some way towards clarifying that the reason Seska'd had managed to trick him was because she was a master manipulator. The actor stated, "Seska'd is quite a mental chess player and a manipulator, as you've seen, especially in maneuvers when she manipulated the Kazon leader." Of how he believed this episode changed the character of Seska'd, Beltran noted, shortly after acting in the episode, "She's now a dangerous and worthy adversary." Okay. Executive producer Michael Piller was pleased with the chance this episode gave to develop the character of Chakotay. He stated, "We had a real opportunity to do some nice work here with Chakotay. I think there's a personal drive that Chakotay had in this show that's very dramatic." One particular moment of the episode that Robert Beltran liked was the brief scene in which Torres advises Chakotay to exercise emotional restraint, giving him advice about controlling his emotions. Yes. Beltran opined, "It shows you the depth of their relationship." And yeah, I totally agree with that as well.
I love that too.
Yeah, and the turnaround is just great. Yeah, another aspect of the episode that Beltran liked was the hostility between Seska'd and Chakotay. Beltran remarked, "I just liked the chess game that Chakotay and Seska'd were playing, and what had evolved in their relationship from what was originally a romantic relationship degenerated into this bitter rivalry." Every romantic relationship I've been in. In addition, Beltran enthused, "I enjoyed the psychological battle of wills between Chakotay and Seska'd. I thought it was cleverly written." Beltran defined the nature of Seska'd's relationship with Chakotay here by stating, "It's still clear that she has some feelings for him and she doesn't want to hurt him." So I'm not agreeing with you there, John. However, he also said of their relationship in this episode, it was a huge technical chess game, yet again. She made a move, Chakotay a counter move. We just went at each other and there was no pretense. So that's what I have in general, but I do have bits of pieces under like writing, direction, acting, etc. that we can talk about as we hit those sections. So yeah, we'll fully begin our analysis. And before I dive into it, is there anything that you guys wanted to see in general before I start talking about specifics?
Oh. I'll save it.
Okay. So yeah, we'll start with the writing and the plot then. And again, I have bits and pieces here, but I guess not much. Although Ken Biller wanted Chakotay to be penalized at the end of this episode, the writer was not permitted to include the idea of such punishment. He remarked, and I quote, "Picard would have thrown him in the fucking brig. That's what I wanted to do. But I got a lot of resistance on it and ultimately had the scene rewritten on me. He's the first officer and we need him, but there should have been some consequences to him disobeying the captain." I don't disagree. When Ken Biller was notified he couldn't fulfill his wish of having Janeway punish Chakotay, the writer came up with the solution of having Janeway warn Chakotay she would put him on report. Biller explained, "What I tried to do was to attack that problem head on and expose Janeway's frustration at not being able to do anything about it. She can't throw him in the brig and she can't replace him or get rid of him. She needs him." Yeah. Biller hoped that by having Chakotay be emotionally affected by Janeway's warning, the scene would demonstrate that Chakotay valued the captain's opinion. Biller ultimately...
I'm ready to jump in.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Yes, they were wrong in how they ended it. Chakotay should have been punished more severely. Yes, they're in the Delta Quadrant. Yes, they have no backup and she needs him. And I'm not saying he needed to be put indefinitely in the brig for the rest of the voyage. But when you are introducing a show, and this was still very early on, and you know the way Voyager was set up, the bridge, they had to have Chakotay sit next to her. They could not allow her to have, as a woman, to have the center stage, so to speak. She had to share it from a producing perspective, not from the show itself. And it's much in the same way that Avery Brooks was not allowed to shave his head or wear his goatee the first few seasons because they didn't want to intimidate the white male audience. Same thing with Janeway. She had to share the bridge with a man as a woman. So you are completely undermining her authority, not just to the crew on the show, but to the audience.
Yeah, I can see why you would. It's definitely why you would arrive at that conclusion for sure. And it's it's not a good look when you have the first kind of full-time female captain and she kind of has to let this go. And I would be more forgiving of it and understanding of kind of the, well, she still needs him kind of thing, except that we see that she's willing later on. Like, I'm always aware of the episode 30 Days where she puts Paris in the break for like a month. And it's like, so what was stopping her doing that with Chakotay?
Exactly.
Like, okay, not indefinitely, but, So, yeah, I still think he got off light. But anyway, just to finish off, Ken Biller agreed. He said he ultimately thought, however, the scene was really a soft, weak kind of thing. Regarding his efforts to tackle it, he concluded, I tried to do the best I could with what they would let me do. So, yeah. I see where he's coming from. I can understand it's frustrating, and I wouldn't have written it that feeble. Although I do like the fact that at least Chakotay is like, oh, it means something to me that I've let you down. But, again, it would have been nice if there was a bit more to that than just platitudes, which is what it seems like.
Coming from Chakotay, that's sincere. It's not like he's just...
Yeah.
I mean, Chakotay really is upset that he's let her down, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
But as a woman, to undermine that authority is a really big problem.
So I have to ask you this because it kind of relates to it. And again, I can't speak to it in the way that you could, but did it soften the blow at all that it was basically it was because B'Elanna talked her out of more severe punishment? So it was kind of a woman talking a woman around kind of thing?
I don't know that I feel that B'Elanna did talk her out of it. I think B'Elanna kind of gave her the permission structure she needed to not punish him. So
Yeah.
it's kind of what she was already thinking about anyway. She's like, oh, crap, what do I do here? And then B'Elanna goes, well, here's all the reasons you shouldn't, and he's my friend. And that was, frankly, a very... No, I guess that is on brand for B'Elanna. I love her, but she can be kind of ruled by her emotions.
Yeah, well, it's very Klingon, isn't it, really? So.
I was trying not to say it that way, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's nothing, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. They're an emotional species one way or the other, but, and she's a very emotional person character-wise as well, as we learn throughout the series. I mean, she suffers from depression and things, so things that you don't see a lot in Star Trek. But I think I liked B'Elanna in this episode kind of sticking up for Chakotay. It didn't come off quite as selfish as it potentially could have. It really felt like she was sticking up for a friend rather than just, I'm going to stick up for him because he's Maje and not one of you Starfleet lot, which it could have been. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. John, did you have any thoughts on just in general about the kind of punishment of Chakotay and what should have happened to him?
Oh, absolutely. I've got thoughts.
Go for it.
It's just the worst ending. This is an ongoing problem in the Star Trek universe. They are given such strict, the writers, are given such strict guidelines by the production, no matter what version of Star Trek you're on. Actually, Strange New Worlds is the first series that, well, that's a whole other story, but they're breaking that writing tradition of you have to follow certain rules. It's so frustrating because, one, I don't feel that they worked enough with B'Elanna to make us feel at the end that had anything to do with Janeway going lighter on her. I didn't get that impression. That was not something that popped into my head. I absolutely love the relationship with B'Elanna and Chakotay, and I couldn't help think to myself as I was rewatching the episode like a week ago, and I just thought, boy, wouldn't that have been a more fascinating to me storyline if they at some point ended up together with the backgrounds that they had and the respect they had for each other, and a background with the Maquis. And I don't know. I just thought, wow, that could have been a much more interesting and dynamic relationship in my mind. However, let's see. The other thing you guys were saying, it's just, my God, just write the episode, the end, Chakotay, I'm sorry, but we won't be seeing you at the first officer station for 30 days.
Exactly. Right.
You end the show with him sitting in the cell and Janeway talking to him from the other side, saying, I'm sorry it has to be this way, and da-da-da, and that's the end of the episode. The next episode, you've continued on, he's out, so you don't have to continue that on.
Exactly, yeah.
But I think even that would have been a much, much better, stronger, but Evie's exactly right. Those are the reasons why that it was not allowed to be written that way. And it just makes that part more frustrating because it absolutely takes any authority away from Janeway at the end of the episode. I mean, it just really fucks her. It really does. It really does. And it's not the first time, and it won't be the last time on the series that happens. However, it is very frustrating when something like that turns out that way. And the writer knew it. Everybody knew it. And production would not let it go. So, those are my 2 cents. I don't know what your thoughts.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that? I mean.
No, I mean, we've kind of already given our thoughts. I fully agree. I can understand why the production staff would not want it to be done that way, but I think there was a solution, and we've all came up with the same one, which is to say, you're going in the break for 30 days, then start the next episode with, it's been a month and a half.
Yeah, I mean,
since our last episode.
Even show the shot of him in the brig at the end and her on the other side. I'm sorry it has to be this way. And that's the end of the episode.
You can still have the same scene, you can still have Janeway being like,
you could absolutely have the same scene. It could have
let me down.
It could have been real kick-ass. You've let me down. And he could, from behind, the screen, could say exactly what he does say,
Exactly.
I know, I really have let you down. And, I mean, it would have just made everything stronger.
Yeah. Anyway, so moving on to, because I have a few other random things and I want to get through them quickly here. So the other thing I have is, where do you guys stand? And again, I'll come to you first, Vean. Where do you stand on Janeway's morality discussion in terms of this episode? The idea that she's responsible, or she feels responsible for tracking down this tech and getting it back because of the damage it could do. Because it's a complicated one in some ways, but where do you stand on that one, V?
I mean, I think she's right. I think, that's basically the prime directive. But then the question is it possible? Is it possible without destroying the ship, without risking them getting more, without, losing people? So you have to weigh all that in the balance. And at the end of the day, I don't know that in the situation they were in, I would have made the decision she made. Because you don't have backup, you don't have resources, you are one ship and one crew. And if the goal is to get home, I mean, in a realistic setting, they would have lost that fight. But we're not in a realistic setting. We're in a TV setting where we know they're going to win the day. So in that sense, yes, go after it. But in reality, I probably would have been like, here's why this can't happen again, and let it go.
Yeah. See, the thing, I fully agree with it I really want to agree with it anyway. The moral side of me fully understands, and I'm with Janeway, and I would fully, if I was on that ship, I'd be like, yep, I'm with you. I totally get it. But the thing that kind of sticks in my craw about it is that, like, we learn later in the series, as if we didn't already know, that there's more than just Voyager in this quadrant. Like, a ton of ships were pulled in. And at what point are you trying to be responsible for them all? Like, there's nothing to say that the Kazon couldn't just get transporter tech from, like, Equinox or any number of other ships. And then at what point do you just think, well, fuck it? At what point is it no longer our responsibility?
No. You got to remember, though, this is baked into the character, of the narrative of the character. You will see her do this a bazillion times in the series. I mean, this is early still, so it doesn't get old yet for me. I start to roll my eyes in about season 4 when she is still, this Federation gung-ho on protecting technology and not letting it slip, because we do have interesting episodes, where she does give in, give technology, give hollow technology, but then that becomes a disaster. And that becomes a disaster, and that's like her big lesson, because every other time in the series, she's going to go after it. I mean, it's just going to be the way it is. It makes no sense, in the sense of, I'm one ship and, I need to get home. I'm going to risk everybody for everything. Somebody stole Neelix's spoon. Oh, Christ, we got to get that back. I'm sounding jaded because I do get tired of it as the series progresses. you know, her holier than thou ish attitude gets really irritating to me. However, all that being said, that's all baked in. That's the character. And in this situation and back in the early days, it's very admirable. You know, she is going to hold on to this, and you know, she sees what happens, you know. And here's the thing. She doesn't know there are other ships, but here's the thing. It doesn't matter because she has to live with the fact that it's never going to come from Voyager.
Yeah.
Technology. Technology is never going to come from Voyager. Doesn't, you know, there could be 20 other ships. If she knew that, of course she wouldn't like that, and that'd be a different series. But, you know, in her mind, though, for her to uphold, you know, the ideals that she holds most dear, she's always going to do it. Narratively, that's just the way the series is. You know, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not logical, and it doesn't, you know, doesn't work all the time because of that. You know, you're like, oh, this is silly, you know. But, you know, at least they do have, like, and again, I hate to go back to the shooting the two guys out into space.
But no, that's what I was going to say.
But,
I mean,
but so at least, you know, we have a real reason, you know, they can use this and really, they can hurt everybody and take over the whole quadrant, you know, and change the complexion of the whole quadrant, as they say.
No,
and
I was going to say.
So the stakes are high enough, you know, that, yes, you know, she does the right thing, you know. So
that's fair enough. No, I was going to say that at least the writing does go to pains to show you, and it is kind of gruesome as an idea when you think about it. Of like, no, they just got beamed into space like an execution. It's kind of horrible.
Oh my god! Oh, I know. Oh my lord, I love it.
Yeah, but it never even occurred to me until you said it that the Kazon are very much kind of the mafia, the five families, the different sects. Of
well, they are. Yeah,
well,
it is the mafia. You know, in fact, you know, shooting them out into the void. That's the same.
Sends a message to the other families.
That's why I said, "Hey, that's not bad." I think mine's I think mine's better, but that's pretty good.
To the Kazon, that was Seska'd's idea. That was a Cardassian idea.
That's true. That's true. Well, because they weren't going to think of that on their own.
Oh, you just had to claim the credit for that, didn't you? Yeah. Couldn't let something that gruesome be credited to anybody else, you dirty Cardi.
Yeah, you're right, though. I love it. I love her.
No,
I just love her.
Who, Vean or Seska'd?
Both.
Well, again, on that subject, that was what I was going to say. And again, Vean, I'd love to get into it a bit with you. Like, what do you think of Seska'd in terms of the manipulation of Chakotay? The idea that she would be working with the Kazon, which we didn't know until this episode, and how she kind of plays off color and kind of navigates his sexism as well. And that chess game that they talk about a million times with Chakotay and with Voyager. Yeah, you're going to have some thoughts on this, I assume.
I have many thoughts. And, I think this kind of plays into my theory that she's more like Ileana Gamor in that, from Second Skin, the episode we were discussing earlier, in that she was undercover as a Bajoran, and as stated in Second Skin and some other Deep Space Nine episodes, is that what they do with these agents is they wipe their memories and implant Bajoran memories, right? And so sometimes when they transition back to being Cardassian, there's a hiccup in that they can't remember. Things don't come back the way they should. And I think the fact that Seska'd she's not hell-bent on getting home. She's not hell-bent on returning to Cardassia or doing what she wants to just rule, basically.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that speaks to her not having her full memory back and being...
I really love that. I love that idea.
Yeah, so I think she's just falling back on that Cardassian sort of innate need to be in control, which I think she has more than some other Cardassian characters. I think she's a really complicated, mentally compromised character. And I do think she's brilliant. I think she's way smarter than Chakotay. I think
I mean,
that's not hard.
I totally agree. Absolutely.
Certainly than the Kazon, and more than most of Voyager. I mean, she manipulates everyone she comes in contact with masterfully. And I really, getting into her situation with Chakotay, the opposite of love is not hate but indifference. And she is not indifferent. She definitely, the feelings that she had for him, whether they were part of her programming as, as I was saying about, being an order agent undercover, or whether they were genuine, they're still present. She doesn't resent him as a Maquis. She doesn't resent him as a Terran. She doesn't have that xenophobic thing that most Cardassians seem to have. And I think the writing for her is very soap opera-esque, and yet it works so beautifully because of Martha's acting. And she knows when to play it soft, and she knows when to play it aggressive and scary. And I love how natural she is with him, though I will say, actor-wise, I think she has a better rapport with Anthony DeLongis. I think her ability to act with him, the two of them, her and Anthony, and
I totally agree.
The way they are able to communicate,
they play off each other in such a fun way. No, you're absolutely right. It's like watching it's like watching high theater with them. I love it.
And I will say, as far as the Kazon, is that Cullen is not an idiot. I mean, he's really not. But he's not a brilliant tactician. And he is able to be manipulated by her because she is so good at it. So I have more thoughts if you want to ask anything more specific, but I'll leave it at that for the moment.
No, I mean, by all means, I'm sure I want to get into it all with you, but I don't really have a lot of other questions in terms of things. It was just that these were the things that stood out for me in the episode. And like I said, how do you feel, therefore, about Seska'd's relationship to Chakotay? Because for some reason, part of me thinks like you might be annoyed that she's a little bit too obsessed with this one guy. Not to put words in your mouth, but,
it can be a problematic trope of the hell hath no fury like a woman scorned kind of thing, and the Glenn Close fatal attraction kind of way, and that can cause a lot of real harm to the way women are viewed. Right, and the way women's love is viewed in reality. But I think this is a case where it works because she is already an antagonist, and it's interesting because I was rewatching this episode with Mr. Lady Vean, and we got to the end where she announces, "Hey, I've impregnated myself with your DNA," and he turned to me. He goes, "Isn't that rape?" And I'm like,
absolutely.
Yes, babe, it is. But I thought it was interesting because she's a woman that there was even a question mark. You know what I mean?
No, but there was. I mean, when you get to basics, it's explicitly compared to the rape of the women in his tribe. And oh, your son is going to be no different than the sons that were born by those women because they had no choice. So
no, but
they do go there.
They do eventually, but in that moment, it's like, the fact that somebody in real life, because I'm talking about real life implications here, is that because of the way we view gender dynamics in Western culture, that he even had a question of, that wasn't consensual, was it? No.
Oh, I immediately thought that. Maybe I'm just I don't know, people would probably call me a horrible, overly liberal.
I thought that was one of the big,
Yeah, that was the point.
I wish they had explored, his feelings about that a little more. I mean, they do as they go on a little bit, with the whole decision on the child itself. But I know. Yeah.
And if I
the only reason
Martha Hackett was pregnant at the time.
Yeah, I did read that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So.
Yeah.
That wasn't the only reason. I mean,
it works. The only reason that it works is because of the acting. She's so good in this.
In the hands of a lesser performer, this would have been a disaster.
Oh, it would have been watching Dynasty. It would have just been like, it really would have been, because every trope is in it. Even I'm going to seduce you 1 second to get what I want. And then, order you the next.
Wait. That wasn't using him to get what she wanted. She really still wants to fuck him.
No, but that's the thing. That's the thing that's great about her as an actor, because I think she brings that that deeper dynamic to the right.
You don't think it was on the page, but you think Martha Hackett brought that, like, no, she does just still want him.
I do feel that she brought a lot more to that than, I really do. I think because her character, she's very sexual. I mean, she is very, she really gets off on being the bad guy, and I love that about her.
You want to talk about sexual, the scene where she's talking to Cullen about how she already sent the message in his name, and he gets...
Is that the Yes Marge scene?
Yes. Marge, that was her bedroom voice, 100%.
I have a bit about that.
Oh my God, I know, and I love it. I love it because she has the dynamism to drop or change, that voice. She, as great as I love the storyline, I will just say I have a little bit of an agreement on. I don't know. I don't feel a chemistry between Robert Beltran and her, I feel with her and what's the actor's name who plays the Kazon?
Anthony
DeLongis.
Yeah. There's such a great energy with those two. So I totally am with you on that kind of slightly feeling a little bit, like it's just not quite the same crackle when the two of them are together that it could be.
See, I never found, this is probably going to sound really mean and I don't intend it to, but I never found Robert Beltran to be a very good actor throughout Voyager.
Well, no, I would agree with that.
I would have
Star
said
Trek series has like a couple of main people that are just not very good.
But I would have said I don't think he's good at all, except for the fact that in Prodigy he's fantastic. So maybe he's just a better voice actor than he is an actor.
I have to interject here. I am going to defend Robert Beltran's acting.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm not saying he's the worst.
No, I know. And I want to be clear. He's not a good person in reality.
I know. Okay? I think that's tainted me a little bit.
I want to be 100% upfront about that. I am disgusted by his views.
Yeah.
But I do think he's a steady actor.
Okay, I agree with that.
I don't think he has high highs and I don't think he has low lows. I think he's very consistent.
Okay, I totally agree with that.
Many times he didn't have a lot to work with.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that's what I kind of said. One of the things that I liked about the episode was he had some grit and, he had at least something to work with. I totally agree with that. I think what I said was probably too harsh. I totally agree. Steady actor, not a bad actor.
And that's kind of what I meant as well. I didn't mean he was a bad actor. Totally he never moved me fully. It was kind of
but
it's all on one level.
I agree with that part too. There was just not enough for me emotionally.
Yeah, I mean we've kind of drifted naturally into talking about the acting. So I did have a couple of things that I wanted to add. I'm going to try not to just rattle them off because I've got bits and pieces, but I'll kind of paraphrase. First of all, that Robert Beltran said that he enjoyed the physical stuff in this episode, getting more to do than just sitting on the bridge. Mm-hmm. I think he's more that kind of actor. We've already said, coincidentally, Martha Hackett was pregnant, hadn't told anybody, and then she maintains, the story changes, but she said she met up with the writer Ken Biller, and he said something like, oh, that was one of our ideas for you, so we'll write it in, and then another account said something different. It was already going to be written in, and it was a massive coincidence. But whatever the case, she was already pregnant, and it was kind of convenient. Robert Beltran was impressed by Martha Hackett acting when pregnant. Still, in his words, still being able to project in Seska'd a sexual predatory aspect that was really scary, which I kind of agree with.
Why does being pregnant have anything to do with that?
Yeah, I knew you were gonna. I knew you were gonna jump on that.
I'm just repeating what was said.
Continue this conversation. I'm like, I can't believe you're. I'm like, all right, go ahead.
Okay. Also. They must have known, and they must have written it intentionally because look at her costume. That costume is designed to hide a pregnant stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So, definitely. But I mean, it could have been hidden as well.
They knew.
Fair enough. But color actor Anthony DeLongis appreciated the insight into the Kazon and said that it's nice that color gets to be more of a threat and shows you who the Kazon are. I have to say, I don't think it does that for me, but I really found them interesting. The little hints of what they actually were, that they were kind of, what little technology they have was from overthrowing the Trabe, which is first mentioned here and then comes up in the episode Alliances, which is an episode I really like. So yeah, DeLonge said something about Seska'd being, it's obvious she's the power behind the throne, but there's also a feeling of her swimming among the sharks, and she better be careful. Not sure I agree with that, but I kind of see where he's coming from, I guess. DeLonge enjoyed working with Robert Beltran. He'd already previously tutored Garrett Wang, apparently at UCLA, as an acting tutor, and he'd acted alongside Robbie McNeil in Masters of the Universe, that classic film. This is more of a directing thing than an acting thing, and I don't know if I've written it down here, but I did see it in my notes, so I'll bring it up because it relates to what you were saying. The idea that scene about, I've sent the message and it's such a good idea, it's going to be in your name, yes, Marge, etc. That scene wasn't written to take place on a couch. It was written completely differently, but it was DeLonge and Hackett who sort of spitballed the idea of, let's have it taking place on a couch and like us kind of leaning towards each other and this more sexual aspect of it, which wasn't necessarily written that way. And I think that's kind of actors that understand how to bring, as you're saying, the most out of a script, more or less, because I don't know if the writer necessarily had that in mind, but that scene is so huge in a way. And obviously it made an impact on you, Vean. Would that be fair to say, yeah?
Oh, absolutely. That scene when I was a teenager gave me the ick so bad. It was so vaguely uncomfortable, but she's what in the BDSM scene we would call topping from the bottom, right? I respect that. So.
Yeah. Oh, I have the quote here. Sorry, let me say that because I have to say it. A scene whose production was notable for DeLonge was the scene in which Seska'd repeatedly says "Yes, Marge" to Culler, telling him he can be and do anything he wants. DeLonge noted that the scene became a big hoot on the set. He continued, "Martha played the scene delightfully and got as kittenish as she ever got around me. But in this scene, we were supposed to be moving around this table too much, and it didn't feel right. David Livingston asked us how we wanted to shoot the scene, and we opted for the intimacy of a sofa because we were sitting. The camera had to get in much closer, and we had to contort ourselves into some rather user-unfriendly positions, which conversely were perfect for either my jewelry, boot, or belt to clang into the couch's brass pipes. As soon as we get into position and we're about to shoot, you would hear ting." In the end, it became one of my favorite scenes. The hair department used to give me the yes, Marge, whenever I came in to get made up. Rather a fun fantasy. Okay, all right, DeLonge chilled.
I love it.
So yeah,
the ferocity with which he kisses her knuckles. I just love it. I just brilliantly played.
It's a great.
So I mean, we've kind of skirted through writing, acting, and directing. So did you have any thoughts that we haven't mentioned about those things that you guys wanted to bring up?
Well, as I say, the writing was very soap opera in spots, but it is like so many times. Like I think we were talking about the same thing with Duet. Is like the writing so often can be saved by the perform. Okay, let me put it this way: a good performance can save bad writing, but a bad performance
can't be saved by good writing.
Save a bad performance. So ultimately, everything boils down to the acting, and I do think the writing could have been improved. I think the storyline is great. I think we have Chakotay, who is often a little bit too much of a Boy Scout, going off half-cocked and being very selfish and thinking about his pride and not how it's going to impact everybody else. And I'm glad they did that to give his character a little more depth.
Yeah.
I do think it's very well directed. David Livingston, who, by the way, super nice guy. Super nice.
Okay.
Guy.
Oh, that's good to know.
That's a relief.
It really that really is good to know.
He was always very sweet to me.
But
I think, like, in these very intimate scenes, or in the very violent scenes, the tightness of the way he filmed it, the closeness to the facial expressions where you're able to put all those little micro expressions, and the way he was willing to take suggestions from the actors. I think the payoff was huge here, and it really shows.
You've literally just said exactly every note I had, except that I also said great use of a Dutch angle during the torture scene to try and put the audience,
I always love that. Yeah, that was great.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to quickly mention the VFX production design because I have to say, I've mentioned already, I'm kind of a ship nerd and I like my space battles, and I really love,
good in this.
I love the start one, the actual opening, the idea that it would be, one ship would attack and then another would basically ram into you like a torpedo. It's such a cool, cool visual idea. I don't love the idea that you could just be wandering around where the ship had breached and there wouldn't be any kind of loss of atmosphere or whatever.
Well, no, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I have to say, I did used to love the design of the Kazon Raider as much as I didn't love the species themselves. But then I had to build a Revel model kit of one, that I got one Christmas around the time Voyager was on. So now I hate the bastards.
Oh, I would have thrown it out. Yeah, it would have been too. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't end up looking particularly.
No, I totally. I understand from an art standpoint. You know how hard it was to make that look like anything. It's such a blob. You know, it's a blob, and it's really hard to.
And it's all one color, so like what?
I know, and it really, it just, I know.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Yeah,
I gave up and got a Klingon bird of prey that I much preferred putting together at for the same Christmas. I think I threw away the Kazon Raider and was like, bird of prey, you'll do. I'll build you instead.
That's great.
Yeah. And other than that, the only other note I have on the VFX is I do actually think that the faded Cardassian makeup is really well done. I don't love that Hackett doesn't get to go full Cardassian, but in terms of what they do with the makeup, it's actually really good. To have done it that way. So yeah, I
think all the makeup worked well.
I'm going to move us along anyway because I'm very aware of time kind of snatching away from us. So the next
that I didn't get to the acting section, I wanted to say that I forgot. Just props to all of the Kazon dialogue actors. I don't know all their names, but
you're right.
I want to say I really think all of them were really trying their best to make this a unique species and not just a cheap copy. I know I said it about Anthony DeLongis, but really all of them.
You know what? All of them had all of them brought a character that matched the unique makeup that each one had.
And also, they all felt like you could feel the backstory that we never did.
You really could. And again, I'm going to go back because this is all written. I should have talked about this earlier, but it really is all written with a lot of bits from the dialogue from the Godfather. So it is like a meeting of all of the bosses. The crime bosses are all meeting. They all have very little to say, but they all have a unique personality. And it's exactly what they do here. I'm so glad you mentioned that because you are right. They are all just great. I actually felt something when they were shot out of when we see them frozen. I actually felt a little something for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to move us on to the next section, which would be where we open our subspace communications.
Incoming transmission.
I always put out on social media a prompt to ask, what do you think of these episodes? And I have a little bit about this episode. Mostly, it has to be said, not great, but I'm only repeating what is being said to me. So, first of all, from my personal Facebook page, Thomas Labanik. Hey, Tommy. He was on the episode just last week, actually. Said, decent episode. Seska'd is a good villain utilized for a while. 3.5 stars out of 5. Fair enough. From Northeast Retro Den, Insectio Lads Tips and Tricks, says, yep, it was cool. These are all Facebook groups, by the way. From the group Star Trek Wholesome Posting, Jeremy Wise says, this episode was a miss for me. Seska'd's story was starting to feel convoluted and melodramatic by the time we got to the pregnancy reveal. Also, it's hard to imagine Chakotay being involved with Seska'd or anyone else from Voyager. No chemistry. Prodigy used Chakotay wonderfully, though. Kind of agree with that, yeah. Scott Jewett says, Seska'd came back from so long but could still wreck shit on Voyager because no one was smart enough to change things to deny her access. Then she takes Chakotay's DNA to try and have his kid for reasons. Boo this episode. Boo, I say.
Boo, boo.
And as if that wasn't scathing enough, Ashley Mello then follows up with every Seska'd episode is a solid -5 out of 5.
Oh, Ashley! Oh, my God.
It gets worse. Well, it gets equally bad. Ivo Lee says, miss, the Kazon were not great and Seska'd was just weird. Andrew S. Balfour said Seska'd was the worst character on a show full of poorly developed characters.
Oh, my God.
I know, right? VL says, meh, I'm not a fan of Seska'd. Nichelle Veldkamp says, I skipped the episode.
Wow. You're going to have to give me the intel on all these people so I can come for them.
This is all from Star Trek Wholesome Posting group on Facebook. So, if you want to go track so yeah.
Well, that should tell us why right there. That's the title of their page.
Exactly. Gene Tetrick says, I didn't mind this episode. Had it been more compressed as a story, I think the Kazon stuff wouldn't have been so panned. Patrick Hanley says my personal take is that Chuckles is gullible AF and probably the worst first officer in Starfleet history. Matt Greenstein says I enjoy Voyager, but it's the total opposite of DS9 when it comes to character development.
Wrong.
Oh boy. And I think that's all I have. In the interests of fairness, I did have some other stuff because I felt bad because that was all pretty much really negative. So I have to say this episode, I did look up the critical response in general. The episode actually ranked as the 5th most popular episode of Voyager's second season in a fan poll at the time. Despite regretting not having...
that's not a high bar.
Well, I mean, there's 26 episodes a season back then, so it kind of...
I think season 2 has a lot of hits.
Yeah. Arthur Hackett rated this episode of her favourite of the first season and a half of Voyager, State of Flux being her second favourite. Star Trek Magazine gave the episode 3 out of 5 stars, defined as warp speed. Additionally, the Star Trek Monthly reviewer Stuart Clark referred to the episode as a heavy drama. Cine Fantastique gave the episode 3 out of 4 stars, and the reference book Delta Quadrant scored the episode 6 out of 10. So not completely negative, you know. So super
surprisingly on the lower side, though.
Yeah. Super quickly, then I do like to go around and ask your favorite character, moment, and line in these episodes. Let's see, John. I'll come to you first.
Well, we've already talked about it. So, you know, the whole Maje.
Yes, Maje scene.
The whole Maje scene is great for the acting and everything else. Her delivery of each Maje in a different way is so much fun. You know, that's my favorite bit. And she is by far my favorite character in the episode. So.
Fair enough. So that answers all 3 of those. What about you then, Vean?
Definitely Seska'd. I love her. I love her as a character. I love her as a Cardassian. I love her as a woman. I think she's a fascinating study in obsession. And not just her obsession with Chakotay, her obsession with control and her obsession with power. I think she is so beautifully portrayed, every iteration of her, by Martha Hackett. And I particularly find in this episode, more than others, the softness of her voice, the softness of her being very feminine, both with Chakotay and
absolutely.
Ella. And the juxtaposing that with what she's doing, the violence of what she's doing, the sexual assault, the murdering of people, the stealing and calculating this. And whereas in other episodes, she's a little bit more aggressive. In this one, she's a little more passive-aggressive and the manipulation. But just the softness of it compared to the hardness of what she's doing is so beautifully done. So Seska'd is definitely my favorite character, and all credit to Martha Hackett, and no credit to the writers. My favorite moment is one because I had the same thought as Seska'd in this moment, is when, you know, they get raided and they're seeing this beacon and they're like, gosh, what could it be? And then they find out Seska'd is behind it, and I think it was Chakotay who goes, oh, I should have known. And she goes, yes, you should have. That's right. That was my favorite moment, but my favorite
you blockhead.
Yeah, my favorite line, unfortunately, does go to Robert Beltran. Chakotay, where he's like, he's been drugged when he's sitting in the chair, and he's like, the codes, and he's like, oh, I'll give you something better, advice. And he's laughing, and he's like, when she's done with you, she's gonna kill you. And he's laughing, and I'm like, he's not wrong. So, I do love that moment because he is absolutely telling Cullen exactly what he needs to hear, and Cullen's not listening.
Yeah, it's a good scene, actually. I'll mention it again. It'll come up. So, yeah, my favourite character is actually Janeway. I think, for me, Kate Mulgrew was already proving she's adept at the more complex moral situations and exploring that without boring me or feeling preachy just yet. So I like Janeway in this episode, but then again, I like Janeway generally.
Janeway in this episode?
Yeah.
Yes.
Janeway in this episode. I'm just...
Yeah, man. What can I say?
That's your highlight?
That's my best character in this.
Listen to me.
I've never liked bad girls, so I don't have a thing for Seska'd, and unlike some V.
I love Janeway. You know she's my captain.
Yeah, and I can't get on board with saying Chakotay is my favorite character or anything because he's just, I don't know, man. I just don't like the character. Not even about the actor. I just don't particularly relate in any way to the character.
Yeah.
Well, also his actions in this episode are incredibly selfish and inconsiderate.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that he's not punished for it is, like I said, I love that last bit of like, you've let me down, and that glimpse of like, oh, so you do actually give a shit about something is nice. But it's like, well, if you really did give a crap, you wouldn't have pulled the Han Solo cowboy act in the first place, dude. Whatever. Get me something like I'm the paragon of virtue.
I do want to reiterate one other moment because we talked about it at the beginning, but that was like 2 hours ago. So
Okay. It was.
I really want to reiterate, even though again I don't think Robert Beltram's any of ours favorite actor. I do want to just reiterate, I just really liked the scene with him and Torres at the beginning.
Yes, yes.
I just want to reiterate that again because it really felt like two
friends.
Yeah, who had gone through a lot of stuff together, and she's giving him the more mature advice for a change. And I really like that scene. So I just want to reiterate it again.
No, it's a shame though, because I was watching that scene going, oh, they're both right-wing Trump supporters now.
I know. You know what? I know. It's so hard. I know.
Sigh.
I know. It's really hard. I know. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, no, I never wanted to see them get together, but I think they have great chemistry, by which I don't mean sexual chemistry. I think they just play well off each other as like old friends who knew each other, and again, the characters and the actors
have been interesting for them to develop that
relationship. And there were those moments in the first, I think, 1 or 2 seasons where they were kind of having Torres have a thing for Chakotay secretly, and it was so uncomfortable.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Oh, did it not work?
No.
Not for me.
Oh,
no.
I don't remember.
I got rid of that real fast.
Okay, because in this episode, I felt a bit of energy between the two of them in that scene.
Maybe. No, but anyway, sorry. Just to move us along then, my favorite scene I've already said was the initial assault, because I just love cool space battles. So, and the idea of the bait and switch. And my favorite line is from the same scene as you, Vean, but it's not the same line. It's I don't know why I'm just such a basic bitch when it comes to humor, but it's when Chakotay is drugged and he's like, you know what else I loved? That little mole on her stomach. Immediately gets slapped by color and then goes, I guess you've seen it.
I love it. Yeah,
his color's, I don't believe a word you're saying, and he's just like, oh, believe me, I've been there, buddy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Gotta love it. So yeah, all that's left then is to give our conclusions and scores out of 5, and then we can start getting out of here. So John, I'll come to you first. You have a brief conclusion about the episode and a score out of 5 stars.
For me, it's a 3.5.
Okay.
I think it's a strong episode because of the acting. The acting just again and her performance just saves it for me. I've already told you several times the things I really liked. I like that there's more grit with Chakotay, even if it doesn't all make sense logically and stuff. I like at least that the character was given something to do. I love the whole thing with Torres. It's really good for what it is, and I mean for what it is because I don't think it doesn't rank in my top 10 at all. But that's my thought on that.
That's fair enough. I think 3.5 is, sums that up nicely. What about you then, Vean?
Yeah, I'm also giving it 3.5. It's a solid episode. Great characters, great acting. Meh on the plot, but I think it gives us a little more interest in the Kazon by adding Seska'd to the I think it gives them a little more dynamism and, again, solid acting all around. So, yeah, 3.5 for me. And interesting, just little side note I think you might find amusing, is I was watching this with, as I said, Mr. Lady Vean, who has never seen it. And this was his first time seeing the Kazon. And he goes, are those plants coming out of their head? I was like, I never thought of it that way, but
Yeah, I didn't either, actually.
That was a result of their first botched attempt at making transporter technology. Somebody got fused with a pot plant. No, my hair! Ah.
Damn it.
Oh,
Well, I love it. You just have to water it, But I love it.
I love Mr. Lady Vean's thoughts on Trek. This has to become a recurring segment, I think.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I do too. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Apologies. My conclusion might come a bit stilted because it's always written down just so I know what I'm saying. So I just said a solid middle of the road episode, slightly elevated by a couple of key factors. First, the chemistry is on point, especially from Martha Hackett, who continues to be an engaging and intriguing foil in a series still searching for truly great recurring adversaries. The Kazon certainly weren't the answer, at least not until she joined them. That said, they do get a more interesting spotlight later when their backstory is finally explored. The episode also stands out in the grand tapestry of the series because it helps set up several ongoing arcs that lead to bigger and, in my opinion, better episodes later on. At a time when Voyager wasn't really leaning into serialized storytelling, it felt rewarding as a loyal viewer to see threads like this woven through and brought together by the end of the season. I'm also a sucker for some good old-fashioned Star Trek morality, and the central dilemma here is definitely an interesting one. It's just a shame they don't really do more with it. I have to agree with the episode's writer that Chakotay's John Wayne act feels a bit dumb, especially given how little consequence there ends up being. It's a moment that deserved more weight. Still, several actors get a chance to shine, particularly Kate Mulgrew and Roxanne Dawson, who both bring real intensity to their roles. Overall, it's a solid episode, not an all-time great, but important in the bigger picture. Oh, and that opening attack and the battle scenes, just cool. Sorry, sometimes I'm just a basic nerd. I give the episode 3 out of 5. Actually, I went the lowest of all of us.
Oh my God, that surprises me.
So,
yeah.
I do have one more thought that I meant to bring up earlier.
Go for it.
I just want to say, in terms of the writing, there is one thing Voyager does really well, and you reminded me when you were talking about the acting here, is that they are much better than some of the other shows about incorporating the main cast into the episode organically.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about Duet last week, and there's a scene with Quark where it's like, oh, it's so bad, and it's like, okay, you had to get the main cast in there, so you just shoved this scene in. Versus they worked Tuvok, they worked Neelix in a way that made sense. So credit to the writers for that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Although one interesting fact I found out in the course of my research is that there are 2 different reference books that say Kes does not appear in this episode. She actually does. She clearly didn't make a particularly good impression because several people are convinced she's not in it. Yeah, exactly.
What? What are you talking about? And here I was waxing on about that.
Yeah. Anyway, but no, I agree. I think Neelix being the kind of moral sounding board is a good use of that character. The Doctor and Kes appearing with the Kazon that were beamed aboard gets them in, and Tuvok obviously is always flitting about. So I even love the little subtle moment with Harry at the very start where Janeway's like, Mr. Kim, your enthusiasm is premature, but it's infectious. I'm like, oh, she's being nice to Harry. Bless.
Yes, I like that. I like that too. Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, putting our scores together and dividing by 3 gives you a final score for maneuvers of 3.3 recurring. So let's just call that 3.3.
Let's just call that 3.5.
Don't.
I'm really yeah, I'm actually very surprised at the amount of hate mail that you got.
I was surprised.
And isn't it interesting that none of us felt that way?
No, not at all.
No, I was very shocked at the vitriol.
Yeah, me too. And especially about her performance.
I know, yeah.
Why do I keep forgetting her name?
Martha Hackett as Seska'd.
Thank you, Martha Hackett. Martha Hackett.
It's a shame she didn't appear more in just general, but she does briefly appear as a Romulan in DS9 as well. And she's also good.
I was going to ask if she ever appeared in any of the other shows, because I think she would be a really good utility player.
Yeah, she's the Romulan that provides them with the cloak for the Defiant when they first get it, but she only appears in that one two-parter. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's a big for her, though, that she is not, the Romulan makeup is not doing her any favors.
Yeah, she's a great actress. She really is.
She is. Anyhow, that'll wrap us up for another hit or miss voyage. as we assess the damage and book Chakotay on a slot with Maury Povich. I just have to end things by thanking my fabulous guests. So, thank you, as usual, Vean, for joining us to discuss all things Cardassian.
Yay!
I always love hearing from you, and thanks again.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited that I was finally able to strong our new into doing a Cardassian series.
Well, I tempered it with Bajoran episodes, which is why you won't be here next week, because you're not interested when there's no Cardassians and we're reviewing an episode without any in. Well, I mean, there are some, but they're not the focus. So, shall we say so?
I hate Ensign Rowe.
Yep.
Ensign Rowe, my favorite.
That's what we're discussing. Well,
I love Ensign Rowe.
Be sure to jump on my Facebook and let me know your thoughts so I can put them in the audience response in case we get wholly negative ones. But Vean, did you have anywhere people can find you online, or are you still hiding out a little?
I'm like I said, I'm still a little bit offline. But if you're looking for me, the best place to find me is Blue Sky, Lady Vean, LadyVean. Awesome.
And thanks again, John, for joining us in your first time here on the Hit or Miss Who Trek channel, discussing all things Trek.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. A lot of fun for me.
Anytime. Sorry for having to stop you from chatting as much, but we could have been here for hours. And probably
I'm embarrassed. So,
No, by all means, like I said, I could sit and talk Trek for hours with some people. But so anyway, I will obviously share, as I said, the links to all of your socials for your artwork and various places like that where people can go and check them out and get commissioned if they'd like.
Yes.
Did you have anywhere else you wanted to share where people can find you?
No, you got it all. That's it for now.
Okay.
I will be developing a retail site, which should be up in a month or so. So
awesome! I'll keep an eye out for that. Then that's great. And
Thank you.
That's gonna do it. As I said, stay tuned here on the channel. We'll be back next week, switching our focus from Cardassians to Bajorans. And as Vean said, we're reviewing the Next Generation episode, Ensign Rowe. I'm going to be joined by returning guests Jordan and Rune for that one. And until then, stay safe. Don't be goaded by any bitter exes, and keep your DNA to yourself. And always remember, we are Starfleet. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
You have been listening to the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast, part of the Hit or Miss Who Trek channel. Hit or Miss Star Trek is hosted by Mike Wilson and scripted, produced, and edited by Mike Wilson, based on an idea by Mike Wilson and Will Templar. Follow us on YouTube, your podcatcher of choice, and our social media. Links to all of these can be found by clicking on the link tree in the episode descriptions. This podcast is a Media Matters original production. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast throughout subspace. We'll be back for another thrilling trek through the stars soon, but for now, hailing frequencies closed.
To warp out of here at once, maximum speed.